Today on the internet, Houghton works on his AK reload, I say mean things, and there's a dog. All that and more coming up. All right, today we have a brand new target for your entertainment. We're going to be shooting it with M193, M855, 5.45x 7N6. What else? Wolf steel case, both 7.62x39 and 223. Yep. And also some 75 grain and 69 grain 223, just to see what the differences are at 200, 150 yards. But brand new target. We're going to go ahead and paint it up so we can actually see it. And we'll commence shooting at 200 yards.
Okay, so we're going to be shooting all of our 223 and 5.56 through this 20-inch AR-15 because that's about the most barrel you're going to see at a match. It's going to give us the highest possible velocity of what's practical, what's going to typically show up at 3-gun and 2-gun, which is what we're doing around here. We have 7N6, that's 5.45x39 coming out of a 16-inch AR.
Steel core.
Steel
core. Banned by the ATF.
Banned because, yeah, it'll kill cops in the streets. Deal with that steel core. And then I have my AK, which is an AK, 7.62x39, 16-ish inch barrel.
And while he's shooting, I'll be down here filming the results and giving color commentary. And plus, got to hold the target stand up because it's broken. What are you going to do?
Big boy rules. First up, Tula 55 grain, Bimetal.
Tula 55 grain, 200 yards. It didn't do a thing. Put an X over that. And reset for the next round.
Next up we have 75 grain PPU.
Alright, we got 75 grain, all lead. Pretty much the exact same as the Wolf 55 grain. Put an X over that. Next up.
Alright, now we have 69 grain PPU.
Alright, 69 grain lead. That is really smooth. Next round.
This is Wolf Gold 55 grain.
Alright, that was Wolf Gold, so it is a lead and copper jacketed round. A little bit of a dimple even at 200 yards. That's probably just due to the velocity, even though it has no steel in it. Put an X over that guy. Next round.
M193.
M193, that's 55 grain, very similar to the Wolf, probably similar velocities. Very slight dimple, very similar to the Wolf Gold. Put a mark over that. On to the next round.
The M855 green tip.
The dreaded M855 steel core. See that shiny surface there? There's a slight dimple, but most of that is just the steel that's been deposited onto the target. But really, the dimple's the same as M855. Put an X on that one and do the next guy.
5.45mm 7N6. Finally.
5.45 7N6 with a mild steel core. And I tell you what, that looks for all the world like one of those 69 grain or 75 grain rounds, except for the little tiny silver mark in the center, but there's basically no dimple there. Next round.
7.62x39 Wolf 123 grain full metal jacket. Huh, about that. Optics are for the weak.
All right, 123 grain, 7.62 by 39 Tula with a bimetal jacket. I mean, you basically couldn't tell the difference if that was a 9mm round. On to 100 yards now.
All right, starting over, Tula, 55 grain, bimetal.
100 yards to 55 grain bimetal. There is a tiny dimple there. It looks about like what M855 does from 200 yards. X marks the spot.
lieu 75 grain match.
All right, we got 75 grain. Hit came in right next to one of our previous hits, but the dimple is distinct. Pretty much an identical dimple to the Tula 55 grain, but that is 75 grain, lead core, no steel jacket, all copper jacket. X over that guy. On to the next one.
lieu 69 grain match.
Okay, 69 grain at 100 yards. Pretty much identical to the 75 grain, no real difference there. Very, very slight dimple. Mark that guy, on to the next.
Gold 55 grain.
All right, 55 grain, 223, all lead with a copper jacket. But you can see there's a pretty decent dimple there at 100 yards. The reason for that is out of a 20-inch gun, you're easily going over 3,100 feet per second at the target. So we'll put a mark over that guy. Next.
M193.
All right, M193, or so-called, it's a 55 grain 5.56 anyway. And that dimple is significantly smaller than the Wolf 223, so-called 55 grain. But fast rounds do a lot of damage. That's the second biggest dimple on here. X marks the spot.
All right, green tip.
All right, M855. Pretty big dimple. Really about the same, if a little bit bigger. This up here was the Wolf Gold 223. That M855, I tell you what, not too impressive. But I don't think I'd want to shoot it at 50 yards, so we probably won't do that.
5.45x 7N6.
Come on, Houghton. Shoot. For f***'s sake, what is taking him so long? Is he f***ing doing yoga?
Eventually, later that same day.
Let's go, Houghton. Shoot the gun.
There we go. Bad primers. Clear!
Finally. Didn't really think that I was actually holding that target, did you? Nope. On the other side of the berm. All right. Let's find that right there. Really, really tiny guy there. That was the 5.45x 7N6. Really just a tiny little dent. Looks a lot like the 69 grain, 75 grain. Probably because it's going about the same speed. Funny how that works. X marks the spot. Next round.
39, 123 grain, full metal jacket. There we go.
I don't know what kind of mad Houghton was talking about shooting his AK with iron sights, but he just missed a 12-inch plate 3 times in a row at 100 yards.
Optics are for the weak. Optics are for the weak. Optics are for the weak.
Optics are for the weak.
Let's see. Oh, he got an edge hit. That's going to be a redo because we don't count those. The edge of this steel does not have the same hardness because it was cut there and there's a little bit of heat transfer. We'll do that guy again.
762x39, 123 grain full metal jacket, do over. There we go.
Oh, first round. No dimple at all from the 7.62 bimetal jacket out of the AK, 123 grain. Speed is what kills a target, not the jacket construction. Next.
55 grain bimetal.
Tula, 55 grain. Very, very small dimple. Not as much as 55 grain Wolf 223 or M193 at 100 yards though, and this is at 50, so not bad. Not bad at all. Next.
75 grain match.
75 grain. This is probably going to be our best case scenario at 50 yards. Tiny, tiny dimple. Not bad.
9 grain match.
69 grain lead core. Full metal jacket, copper jacket. 50 yards. Bit bigger dent than the 75 grain. It's about the only time I'm able to tell a difference at 50 yards. Very nice. Next.
Gold, 55 grain.
223, 55 grain, lead core, copper jacket. Huge chunk missing. I mean, that's the biggest. That's bigger than M855 at 100 yards. So, that's allowed at all major matches. But not a good idea for your steel, as you can see. Next.
93. Works better when you load it.
5.56 M193. Big old dent right there, but again, it's not quite as big as the Wolf 223 Gold. So I think our 5.56 doesn't rate. But that Wolf Gold is legit. That's probably 5.56 spec the Wolf Gold is. Next.
4.5 7N6. Oh, I missed. There we go.
5.45 7N6. Banned by the ATF because it's armor piercing. So dangerous, but did about the same amount of damage as a 69 grain. What the f***? ATF.
39, 123 grain full metal jacket. Wolf.
Last round of the day. Yes. God. I am so tired of running around this f***ing berm. Oh my God. All right. Where are we at here? 7.62. Right there. Again, looks like a f***ing pistol round. Ain't that some shit?
So what did we learn today?
I think we forgot because we just had to bolt out of there and go see Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
And we sat through a half-hour previews, 2 hours of a movie, and then a half hour of a drawn-out conclusion and end credits.
Yep. Totally agree.
I think we learned pretty much what we already knew, which is that the speed of the bullet is what counts and not what it's made of, with the exception of M855. But pretty much.
Yeah.
So specs for the ammo we shot, Tula 55 grain was 2,900 feet per second. PPU match 75 grain, 2,800. PPU match 69 grain, also 2,800. Wolf Gold, various sources differ, but it's around 3,200. M193 is around 3,200. M855 is around 3,100. 7N6, the 5.45 ammo that has a mild steel core, is 2,900. 7.62x39 is 2,400. So the jacket construction didn't really matter. The Tula 55 grain was moving at about the same rate, or a little faster than the 75 grain, the 69 grain ammo that we shot, and it looked identical. in every single test. I know you weren't down there observing the impacts with me, but you saw the results at the end. The M855 at 100 yards took probably the same size gouge out of the target that Wolf Gold did at 50 yards.
And the 855 and 100 is one actually. That's one I asked you about. I saw a dirt splash.
Yeah.
What looked to me like behind the target. I thought that one went through. But it turns out probably the penetrator just stuck together and hit underneath, and that's why I saw a splash behind it.
To be clear, to our knowledge, the difference between the steel core of M855 and 7N6, aside from the 200 feet per second difference in speed, the M855 has a carbon steel steel core. It's not hardened, but it is also not the lightest or the softest steel you could have. The 7N6 core is just mild steel. The results on that kind of speak for themselves because the 7N6 just looked for all the world, despite the ATF classifying it as armor-penetrating ammo, just like the weakest ammo we had out there, which is the 75 grain and 69 grain match ammo. Pretty crazy. And the other thing, all of the steel jacketed ammo, you couldn't even tell. It had no discernible effect on our steel targets. One thing that really kind of surprised me and pissed me off a little bit, I bought a whole bunch of 7N6. Like I have 9,000 rounds of 7N6, and I bought it, and I'm like, I'm going to use this to train with. Then I started shooting more 3-gun and realized you got to shoot steel targets. And everything I heard said you can't shoot 7N6 at steel targets. Bullshit. I could have shot all that ammo at steel targets and never wore out a target, even at 50 yards. It's crazy.
And the Wolf, the 7.62x39, it even sounded different. It's a different. I don't know if it transferred on video or not, but it was like this big hollow. It sounded like a pistol. It sounded like a pistol in steel.
It sounded different downrange, too.
Yeah, and you're saying it looked like a pistol splash on the steel.
Not only that, but downrange when the real not the real rifles, when the 223s were hitting on the target, the sound of the impact was a lot louder than the sound of the crack. I hardly tell the difference between hits and misses with the 7.62x39. I could just barely hit a tank. And there were lots of misses.
No, I think there was one. I think I had one makeup. With my
I don't know. We'll have to revisit the video. But yeah, it's crazy how much difference there is. You can't treat 7.62x39 like it's a 223 when you're considering what it's going to do downrange.
I thought AKs are more powerful, more reliable, and all that. Well, maybe that's another video. But so there's no reason to ban 7.62x39 Wolf or any of the bimetals, as far as I can see. I mean, if anybody's out running range, it's your house, your rules. But this stuff can't hurt the plates. If anything, you're going to watch out for be M855, and maybe even 193.
Absolutely. Like, just if you've got people that are coming to your match and they've got longer barrels and they're shooting hot 55 grain ammo, that will tear the out of your targets. And I think I've seen this in matches before where people are like, oh god, somebody snuck some M855 in. Probably not. I mean, most people aren't stupid enough to do that, first of all, and it's pretty easy to catch them when you're ROing because it's a very clear green tip.
Right, we caught guys at the 2-gun track meet. They didn't know any better. They weren't trying to get one over on us or anything. It's just it was their first match ever.
And it was obvious because they show up with a bunch of green tip bullets. And if you're paying attention to the shooter as they, make ready with their gun, as you should be, you're going to catch that. It's going to be obvious. So we did another test off video like several months back where we shot Wolf Gold out of my 17.7-inch gun at 50 yards and your 20-inch gun at 50 yards. So we already knew that Wolf Gold was going to put a big divot in that target at 50 yards. That was not a surprise. But out of my 17-inch gun, the divot looked probably more like, I don't know, maybe not quite as insignificant as the divots from, what was the next hottest thing? Gosh, probably the 75 and 69 grain, maybe the Tula. They're all about the same.
Yeah.
So it looked about like that. So the barrel length absolutely matters. If you don't have a 20-inch barrel, that's going to help you. In fact, if you have a 16-inch barrel, I would say pretty much any of this stuff at 50 yards.
None of it's really going to be a problem.
Yeah, with maybe M855, maybe not. Yeah. Really, you shouldn't probably shoot that anyway because, like we talked about, I think we saw the penetrator bounce. I'm pretty sure that the steel core of 7N6 just disintegrates
and the M855 might bounce off, so that could be a safety hazard there. Going back to the steel jacket and stuff and why it's banned, the one thing that I read online, because I knew that the Tula wasn't going to do to the targets, but the one thing that I have read online is that some people ban it in their matches because the steel jackets will throw sparks.
Oh, that could be.
More sparks than you get, because you also get sparks with just copper jacketed lead ammo, but you get more sparks with steel ammo supposedly. And if you have a fire issue, which we do not, we live in Iowa and our range is almost always green, so we really don't have to worry about setting fires, although we don't allow tracers because it's just dumb. That's a great way to set a fire, no matter where you are. It's just not a problem. So I think for our matches, we don't really need to ban anything other than M855, and we probably need to ask people, hey, if you're shooting a 20-inch gun and you're shooting 55 grain, and if you're not hand loading it to be slow like a lot of 3-gunners do,
maybe request Tula or Wolf or something.
Maybe we should just have an emergency supply of Wolf ammo to give to those people to shoot our steel at close range.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a problem at 100 or 200 yards. There are some matches out there, and typically it's actually not the 3-gun matches, but I've seen a lot of long-range precision matches where they don't have, obviously, they're not limited to people shooting 223s for the most part, which is what you typically see at 3-gun matches. They've got people shooting different stuff across the board, and they have a speed limit. They have a 3,100 feet per second speed limit, because that is generally the speed at which you do not want to go above to avoid damage to your AR500. And if
that seems to track with what we see.
Yeah, the Wolf Gold 223, if that's doing 3,200 feet at the muzzle, 50 yards down range, it's not going to lose a whole lot of that energy. It's going to be going at least 3,100 feet per second when it hits that target. So, and even at 100 yards, I don't know how many feet per second it would lose at 100. I can't think off the top of my head, but it's still doing damage at 100. Pretty significant damage at 100, actually. More than I expected. Sophie, are you falling asleep?
Yep, tired dogs.
Oh my goodness. Why do you have gay dogs?
I don't know. Well, they're not. He's gay, probably.
With M855, there's definitely a combination of the material and the speed that's causing the problem. It's coming out of the muzzle at 3,100 feet per second, so it's already right there where it needs to be. You just do it on speed alone, even if it was totally lead.
Yeah.
So, conclusions. Don't add AR-15s to your dog.
Yeah, don't do that.
I don't want to do that. That didn't work out.
On this episode of Mighty Car Mods, we're going to add an AR-15 to a Schnauzer.
It's not a good dog mod.
Yep. And bimetal jackets really don't mean anything.
No.
It's all about velocity.
But M855 is still kind of bad for you.
Yep.
Kind of does the job that it was meant to do, which is a
Weird.
bow armor piercing round that can't really pierce armor but will damage it.
Weird that the stuff performed the way it was designed to perform.
Yeah.
Like everything we tested today performed as it was designed to perform. Weird.
Speed matters. Speed kills. I probably shouldn't have been chewing gum this whole time. You think it's going to pick up on the camera? I'm sorry if I sound like an asshole.
If you found this video enjoyable, subscribe and maybe we'll make more videos. Find our Flatland Proving Ground page on Facebook, give it a like, and maybe we'll post something. If you want to see another cool video, check out my long-term magazine spring test video on shade tree armor in the description below. Have a great day.
Optics are for the weak.